Welcome to Drink for Initiative. I'm Sean,
I'm Joe.
and this is the show all about drinking and dungeons, or drinking and dialogue and Dungeons and Dragons. I almost messed up our intro,
That's
folks.
it.
Today's episode, we're going to be doing something. We're beginning our series talking about the campaign module, Out of the Abyss.
Mhm.
It's a module that's been out since about 2015, so some people have got a chance to play it. We've been playing this with our group for, I don't know, I'd say about 8 months now, almost.
Almost.
Almost 8 months. We're about halfway through it.
Yeah.
And we decided to start doing some videos talking about it. Just some things that me as the DM, I wish I would have known before starting.
Mhm.
And as a player, things that a player should know before starting. This episode is going to be kind of an intro to the module. And then our episodes are going to go basically chapter by chapter. So the next episode will be talking about chapter 1. Today we'll talk about just a bunch of different things that you should know to prepare for it. Maybe some things to help prepare for your session 0 as a DM, to be able to set the proper expectations with your players. And then from a player perspective, some different things you should know as a player on mainly how to create your character to really get the most out of the module itself.
Absolutely.
Obviously, it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyways, there will be major spoilers throughout this whole series. So if you haven't played the module yet, then you might not want to watch too far in advance. Watch the episodes as you're getting up there and going along there, or watch them if you've already passed them. But there will be some spoilers.
As the DM, I think there won't be any specific spoilers necessarily.
There might be.
Might be, but
Because there's some of the things I'm going to talk about from the DM perspective is, like, there's things that I wish I would have known at the beginning that I didn't find out until later, and so I've actually had to retcon some things in our sessions in order to make things fit.
Oh, I had no
And I
idea.
won't even mention some of those things
I had no
yet,
idea.
because, again, I don't want to spoil it for you, too.
Uh-huh.
But the things like that might come up. So
Excellent. All right. Fair enough.
tell us about what we're drinking tonight.
Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are drinking a fantastic beer. You can't really see it on the camera from the glare here, but this is Bottle Logic Roll for Initiative. And on Drink for Initiative, this is kind of our big intro episode here into the module that we're really running right now. So we wanted to go with a big beer. This is a 14.1%er. And yeah, it's up there.
That'll put a beard on the dwarf.
That'll beard up your dwarven women as well. This is
Put beard on your halfling.
that's right.
Just call him a short dwarf.
So this is a cinnamon roll inspired. I'm giving you a short pour here because we'll give you another one here when we're done. Cinnamon roll inspired stout.
Huh.
Oh man, lots
Very
of cinnamon.
cinnamony.
Yeah, lots of cinnamon. And I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but man, look at that. That is viscous. That is like a motor oil right there. Sean, as you know, is a big stout guy, so
Hence the labels on the glasses.
the Guinness glasses here. Well, cheers.
Sláinte.
Watch it. Woo! Boozy. Earthy.
It's like drinking a fermented cinnamon roll.
It is a little boozy. 14 and a half. 14
It's like if
and
you
some
got
change.
drunk and wandered by a Cinnabon.
Mm-hmm. That's a good description. So I'm generally not a big fan of cinnamon in my beers. I think it kind of throws off the flavor. But roll for initiative, drink for initiative, kind of went hand in hand. So we had to have it. Simple as that. So I went on a little bit of a mission. Bottle Logic's based out of Anaheim, California. One of my all-time favorite breweries. They really don't do anything wrong. It's just personal preference. And this thing, I had to do a couple trades to get it, but I think it's worth. It was worth the wait. And find it in your local beer.
Yeah, if you can find it, I recommend it.
It's good.
That'll definitely also help enhance your sessions, too. If you're the type of people that like to drink during your sessions, which, I mean, let's be honest, we're beer drinkers during our sessions, too.
Oh, absolutely.
But getting the group together when it's safer to do so, and get some of these drinks here, give those to the players, and have a good time.
Yeah, social event.
Social event.
Agreed. So let's tell us about the module here.
Module again. It is. Let me try to. I found it. Without the glare.
Boom.
Perfect. Okay. Out of the Abyss. This strapping young two-headed lad on the cover there is, for those who don't know, the Demon Lord Demogorgon. So the Demon Lords are featured heavily in this module. Basically, the blurb on the back of the book reads, the Underdark is a subterranean wonderland, a vast and twisted labyrinth where fear reigns. It is the home of horrific monsters that have never seen the light of day. It is here that the dark elf Gromph Bonray, Archmage of Menzoberranzan, casts a foul spell meant to ignite a magical energy that suffuses the Underdark, and he tears open portals to the demonic abyss in the process. What steps through surprises even him, and from that moment on, the insanity that pervades the Underdark escalates and threatens to shake the Forgotten Realms to its foundations. Stop the madness before it consumes you. And it's nice that it says stop the madness, because that's actually one of the big features of this module, as opposed to some of the others, is madness takes an effect. There's certain things that cause or it would trigger a roll on a madness table, and there's various different madness tables for different reasons. There's short-term madness, like temporary madness, long-term madness, like different situations that would cause these things to happen. So it's a really neat aspect to add to the roleplay aspect of the game. But that's really what it boils down to is basically you are in the Underdark for at least the first half of this module. And then, skip ahead, you get to the surface, but then things lead to another and you're not done yet. So your players should be prepared to spend most of the time with this module in the Underdark. You will be down in the Underdark. So set that expectation early that the Underdark is a very, very dark, very, very dangerous, very, very deadly place.
And it's interesting
Rest in peace.
It's interesting you said that this module is from 2015, being 2020 now. I didn't know it was that old because it's still incredibly popular online and all the forums and stuff I read. I'm surprised at how the staying power it has. People are still talking about tips and tricks, which is prompted this video. But Sean was also super excited to DM this one because I guess it's iconic. It's a big deal.
I'm just a huge fan of the Underdark setting. I know a lot of people out there aren't. We've even got a couple players that aren't. But I've always been fascinated with the Underdark ever since R.A. Salvatore's first Driss novels. Like, I've been fascinated with the Underdark. I've read tons and tons of different books that take place in the Underdark, just because the creatures and the culture down there is just super interesting to me. And so when I found out that they had this module, like, that was all about demon lords wandering the Underdark, I was like, yeah, we gotta do it. We gotta do it. Especially since the first chapter of the module, basically what happens is you're captured by the Drow. So you're starting off jailed in a Drow outpost. So that means your players, are starting off with 0 gear. They have none of their starting gear, none of their starting equipment. They are automatically already in a high tense situation that they need to try to figure out how to escape from. And it only escalates from there. So with that, what are some things that a player needs to know getting into how to create their character? Like some of the different things they should keep in mind while they're thinking of what to play and how to play this.
Yeah, you helped me a lot with this. I picked your brain on it because you are the Underdark guru here for our team. I read the first 3 of the Driss novels just to kind of get familiar with some of the flora and fauna of the Underdark, because it is a completely alien environment. It has different requirements than just a standard game. As far as picking a character goes, my recommendation was that you don't pick a character that is native to the Underdark. You don't want any Drow. You don't want any of the Zerfneblin, the dark dwarves that live under there because of
The dwarves would be the Durgar.
Durgar.
You're thinking of the deep gnomes.
Deep gnomes.
Yep. The same thing, yeah. You don't want to play as a Durgar or a Swiftneblin or a Drow.
Yeah, because the key of this whole module is that you want to get out, you want to escape. You're not just trying to get home. You're trying to get out of this alien environment, and any of the creatures that are native to that land wouldn't have the same desires of somebody who lives down there. They're just trying to get down the road. These people want to get completely out of there.
Now, obviously, there's always going to be exceptions too.
Yeah.
I mean, your player, if they have a good enough backstory for why their character needs to leave the Underdark or can't be in the Underdark, then by all means, it's up to you as the DM on what you'll allow within your game. I just made sure with ours in particular, our session 0, I sat everybody down and I said, first off, no monster races, no evil alignments, and no Underdark races. Because any of those things would take away from the player experience of this module.
Yeah.
You're surrounded by evil, darkness, drow chasing you throughout the Underdark while you're trying to escape these demons. So an evil aligned character isn't really going to care that much.
Align with the goals of
they're not going to align with the goals of the group.
Yeah.
But a drow character, I mean, unless if the drow has a very good reason for wanting to escape the Underdark, which, I mean, if you're playing a good drow, they do exist. So by all means, you can do that. But I would just make sure you clear it with the DM, and with the DM, you really think about how it's going to play with your characters.
And being that like you said, you start off in the prison, you're locked up. You kind of have to have character development is super important in this module because you have to have a good reason why you're down there. You don't just end up in the Underdark. There has to be some sort of backstory, which helps with the gameplay and helps with the role play and all that stuff. So have a good development of that backstory.
Yep. Yeah. What else? What other tips can you give to the players just starting out? Having not set talk to them like this could be somebody's very first game of D&D.
It was mine.
What's something a very first brand new fresh player should know?
Well, I had one small game before this, but I consider this the first epic, full session that I've ever committed to. And so I did a lot of research on the different races and the different species that we could be in different classes, and I ended up going with something of an outcast, something of an unusual combination. A dragonborn rogue. He was really small. All of the other dragonborn picked on him, and he became, instead of like a big burly fighter, he became a sneaky, rogue, and he went into the Underdark to kind of go after glory and treasures and riches. He heard of vast wealth under there, and so that's how he ended up down there. There's a little bit more.
Leads into a whole other challenge too, because Dragonborn don't have dark vision.
That was exactly where I was going. Is like, if I had to do over again, and I do.
You do.
No spoilers, but my guy may not have made it very far. Shed a tear for a fallen warrior.
Pour one out for good old Burpunyan.
For Burpunyan. Oh man. That was a punch in the head.
He passed away in our last session.
Yeah, a couple days ago.
Out of our group of 6, we're now down to 2 of our original characters. So that's another thing as a DM. Make sure your players understand during session 0 that there is a very, very high likelihood that they will die.
Yeah, this is not a happy place. People die in the Underdark.
Yeah. Exactly. And if you don't have players that are comfortable with player deaths, then this might not be the module to be playing.
Yeah. Player
deaths are inevitable in this module.
Yeah. Because you're surrounded by evil around every corner. I mean, almost every session.
And we have a party of 6, and we've still got some of the encounters seem fairly easy. Some of the ones that seem like they might be easy are not, and that's kind of what happened with our last session. I'm not going to go into the details of what happened, but basically it was, an encounter that should have been, at least suspenseful, should not have killed anybody, and unfortunately our Dragonborn at level 6 finally got slain.
Yeah, and a few other NPCs fell in the action there, but that would be one thing I would do different is Dark Vision based race. There were some things that happened and some things that I think you kind of homebrewed and cooked into it that kind of overcame the Dark Vision for a few of our people. But looking back on my backstory, like would a Dragonborn go into the Underdark without Dark Vision for glory and gold?
Maybe,
but
they could have also been
probably not.
One of the other options too for how they ended up down there is that they were captured in a Drow surface raid.
Yeah.
So it could have been maybe the character didn't even go to the Underdark. The Drow came to the surface and raided their caravan and dragged them to the Underdark to be slaves.
Yeah. Yep. So that was one thing I would change. Maybe a different race with natural Dark Vision. But other than that, I liked the rogue. I feel we didn't have a lot of stuff that where a rogue would really stand out. I didn't do a whole lot of sneaking, a whole lot of lock picking.
Missed a lot of opportunities with it.
Yeah, well,
I'll say that much.
He unfortunately he won't be there for that. Oh God.
Well, again, Rip.
Yeah.
Can we get an F in the chat for Burpunyan?
Yes. F for my fallen rogue warrior. My first real character, and you offed him. It happens. I was warned in the in day 0.
Yep.
But,
Session 0. I made sure to warn everybody.
Yeah, that's true.
I know we've got one player in particular that he's still alive, and I just know that the day that his character dies
will probably be the last day he plays.
Probably. I mean, he's taken a couple of these player deaths pretty hard. It wasn't even his character.
Yeah.
So when his character dies, that might be his last day. He wants to play D&D.
Cheers to Random.
So,
it's good playing with you, buddy.
So again, as a DM, just make sure your players understand. Player deaths are inevitable.
Yeah.
They are going to happen. It's not a win. It's not an if. It's a win. Mm-hmm. It's going to happen. You will have player deaths. Now, that's not to say that every player will die. Who knows? The last two standing might just well make it to the end.
Maybe.
But
he's a tank. He should
do
fairly well.
He's pretty strong as long as he can avoid getting paralyzed.
Cooked in his own armor. Lots of stuff happens in the Underdark. How about we wrap up this intro video to this module with just some tips that you would recommend for the newbie DM when prepping for this episode, and then we'll kind of keep this one a little on the shorter side.
Yep.
And go
So,
from there.
some things to keep in mind when you're prepping for this module. Read the entire module from beginning to end before you even start.
Highly recommend that.
There's a lot of things that I overlooked at the very beginning that I regret because I didn't read the whole thing. So I've had to try and retcon some things in to get things to match up and go a little bit nicer. The other thing, too, is you start off with a lot of NPCs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of NPCs. Feel free to off them. Some of them are expendable.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them add some really good story elements. So again, read through the module all the way before making your decision on which ones to extinguish. There's several of them. Like some of them are completely expendable. You're not going to miss them. Some of them are key characters. So I'm not going to go into, again, to spoil it even for my own player because we haven't gotten that far where some of them are. But yeah, there's a couple of them that I've killed off that I wish I would have held on to. So
I did not know that.
Yeah.
A follow-up question to that. Because, and we might have to edit this here because I lost my train of thought. I liked that you used follow-up thought being. I really liked that you used certain attributes of the Underdark, the madness and the dreams and nightmares portion of it, to guide the characters. I'm not sure how much of that was in the module and how much of that you cooked up yourself, or how much of it was intentional or unintentional. But binding some of the players to
the story,
and to the NPCs who. One in particular, Stooley. We have one of the little mushroom guys. I don't even know if he's an official NPC. You don't need to spoil it for me. But
Stool definitely.
Stool is okay.
Stool happens to be everybody's favorite,
and he's become relevant.
Yeah, I got my little 3D printed stool.
There he is. Look at that. He's literally like a.
He's a myconid sprout.
Yeah. He's been everybody's hero because he has certain skills that help the whole party. But like one of our characters is really bonded to him, and then I had an NPC that was that I bonded with. It was I don't know how much was part of the official story.
And that one died too.
That one didn't make it. Good old Ball and Burp. They died together. So
again, let's get another F. Another F in the chat for Burpunion and Ball.
But the feature of the Underdark is that you get these nightmares, and as a DM, I think that lets you get really creative with how you guide people, how you force alliances within your party. I'm assuming, and how you could cast some doubt because we've had some disagreements, we've had some typical party arguments about how we would argue, but everybody's rowing in the same direction. We want to get out of the Underdark, but it's been interesting with and I think from a DM perspective, there was a lot behind the scenes that went into all the mechanics there. So
yeah, absolutely. In fact, that's another good thing to talk about from the DM perspective is there's a ton of stuff in this module. Obviously, it doesn't have everything, so don't worry about if you want to homebrew some things to throw that in there. The madness, you can kind of maybe change things around for stuff that fits. Dreams, while it talks about how they have nightmares within the module, it doesn't always go into the specifics of what kind of nightmares they're having. So have some fun with it, with the nightmares that you're giving to them. Mm-hmm. Have them kind of foreshadow different things that are going to be happening, that they're going to be experiencing. That way, later on, when they do experience these things, they're able to make that connection back to that dream they had 4 sessions ago.
Yeah. That reminds me of another good thing. Take as a player, I have a notepad open. Take notes.
Lots of notes. You're going to meet a lot of NPCs, a lot of names. DM, practice the names.
Yeah.
Especially of the Kuotoans. Practice their names. And we'll get more into that on the episode when we get to that chapter, but
yeah, and take good notes was a good thing, and I really liked as a DM when you would throw the images of the characters on the screen. So
we're playing on Roll20 with Discord right now due to coronavirus. We can't play in person at the moment. Yeah. We started off the module in person, but then coronavirus happened and we switched to Roll20 in Discord.
Yep.
Hopefully, we'll be able to play in person again for at least the last few chapters of the module, because those ones in particular, I really want to play those in person. I've got some really cool minis prepared for them.
That'll be cool. But yeah, so Sean would throw images of this is who you're fighting. Boom. So you get an idea. The token size gives you an idea. The description gives you an idea. Obviously, you can roll for different perceptions and whatnot to try to figure out things, but just seeing it really helped, and especially like some of the NPCs, like here's the guy you just met. It was really cool, and I think that was a big part of it that I enjoyed.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Anything else that you want to ask from the DM, or anything else you want to add for new players, or even returning players? Just things that they might want to prepare.
Just as a new player, this being a kind of an advanced module, I wouldn't say that it was particularly intimidating. Like ask for help, obviously, for people who know it. But I'm totally green to this, so I didn't know everything I needed to know. There's a lot of stuff I still don't know, so I have some follow-up questions for that, outside of this. But you hear about this one and that Legend of Strahd, or
Curse of Strahd.
Curse of Strahd is another one that everybody talks about. They're kind of intimidating modules. They're kind of advanced. This one, so far, it's been a blast. I've enjoyed it. Do not be intimidated as a new player to just kind of commit to it. Just jump in, commit to your character,
That actually
have some fun.
does bring up one other thing I do want to add and make sure that, again, address this in your session 0 as the DM, but understand this module, depending on the length of your sessions, will take a while to play through.
Yeah.
And also, there's all sorts of different factors of how many encounters you're throwing between chapters, what you're doing there. Are you just going straight from chapter to chapter? How much you're railroading it versus how much you're letting it be open world.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely recommend don't let it be too open world.
Mm-hmm.
Something that this is going to almost be a little bit of a spoiler to you, but a trick that I used as a DM is giving them the illusion of choice. As an example, when they finally make their jailbreak escape from Velkenvelv at the end of Chapter 1, they've got some choices on where they can go. I kind of forced the interaction to go to naturally where the next chapter is, like that town, instead of them picking where the town for Chapter 3 or Chapter 4. Even though they could have chosen those routes, I still kind of just steered them in the right direction towards Chapter 2. Because the problem is, if you're going to jump to one of those chapters, they're not going to be able to handle some of the different things in those like 3rd, 4th, 5th chapters, because they're not going to be high enough level.
Makes sense.
There's also 2 different options you have when it comes to leveling. You can use XP. I recommend using milestone leveling in this. And even then, I've leveled them up a little bit ahead of schedule. We're on chapter 5 right now, and I think you guys are level 6. When it should be you guys are level 5 in chapter 5 if you do milestone leveling.
Still
but yeah,
savage.
That's what I'm saying. So, kind of steer it in the direction you want it to go, but give them the illusion of choice. They chose to go here, but it's because the NPCs heavily influence that choice and say, "Hey, look, this is probably our best option. Or maybe we should do this." And then that happens to be the tunnels that they happen to escape down. Mm-hmm. That's where the tunnels were leading.
And I'm thinking back to that session. Like, I remember when we were jumping off a cliff into a river. Like, we looked to the right and you could see there were just a pile of monsters over there. And it was like, you look to the left and there's not so many monsters. So
so you get that illusion of choice there.
We totally chose to go to the left.
By all means, they could choose to go off and try to plow through those monsters and go in the opposite direction. You know how players can get. Sometimes they will do whatever the hell they want to do, whether you want them to do it or not. Which also leads to it's a good idea to always have a backup plan.
Right.
In case things completely go off the rails. And you get a mage that tries to mage hand and reverse pickpocket a drow that's following them through a town. And
that never happened.
Yeah, tries to do that to try to get the guards of these Durgar guards to go after the drow when they're not that stupid. They're going to go after the gnome that's doing that.
Somebody almost died in that little screw around there. That sneaky mage hand that was a little out of character. If I would have, if I have to say so myself, but
But just understand it's a long module. I've heard of some people taking well over a year to complete the module. I think with us, we'll probably be about that.
Yeah.
Probably, we've been playing it since January, I think.
Yeah, depending on when you count it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right around there.
So we're started right around January. We're almost to the halfway point.
Okay.
So yeah.
A solid year. Cool.
But I've also heard other people that, we knocked it out in 3 months. People who knock it out that quickly, obviously, they're missing a lot of things and they're not getting the full experience of the story.
Yeah.
So
the grind is kind of a big part of it.
So you're supposed to be feeling lost, exhausted, hopeless,
walking through claustrophobic in the tunnels, sitting on that stupid river or lake, whatever.
Yeah, the dark lake.
Dark lake for like a whole session. It's real. It happens. You deal with it.
And then you get attacked by some water weirds.
Yeah, that was.
No, it was the. I don't remember.
Something nasty jumped out of the water.
The water weird was later.
That's great. Well, let's cheers one more time for the intro to our
Out of the Abyss.
Out of the Abyss, and we'll keep us on your radar for episode 2. We'll start diving into this thing chapter by chapter. We'll have new and exciting beers and new and exciting adventures.
And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends. Hit
Absolutely.
the bell so you get notified when our next video is uploaded. Leave some comments down in the comment section on, if you're running Out of the Abyss, what have you done differently than what we might do, or any questions that you might have in preparing for it or running on it. And obviously with our chapter-specific episodes, if you've got questions about that chapter, or the previous chapter, feel free to put comments in there, and we'll try to answer comments, as many comments as we can.
Yeah, we're pretty active on answering the comments in YouTube as we're kind of getting this rolling. So all of those likes, comments, subscriptions, notifications, all that fun stuff helps us get more people to follow us, gets us more ability to do more fun stuff, and come up with some cool merch and all that good stuff. So definitely, we'd appreciate it.
Absolutely. And thanks for watching.
See you next time.
See you next time.